Greetings and welcome to the Quantum Ogre Cast, the topical TTRPG podcast you were destined to encounter no matter what choices you made. Today is a special guest, TigerWizard. That was not the transition I was hoping for, but we're going to go with it. Welcome.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on the Quantum Ogre Cast, man. How are you doing?
Jordan, thank you so much. I am doing great. I am excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped. I'm like pumped. Let's go.
Yeah, man. I was saying this a little bit off screen, but I've been a big fan of your work for a while now. I follow your Patreon. You've got your art and your dungeons have a specific style to them, and I really enjoy it as someone who's very eclectic and likes weird, zany, wacky stuff. So go check out TigerWizard's Patreon if you haven't seen it. And also, like, you've worked on a ton of cool projects, which I'm going to hold up a few of. So if you're listening, sorry you don't get to see this, but it's sewer rats and ooze nun and dungeon cats and just some awesome stuff. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Should I just roll right into the pitch on Tavers?
Well, actually, what I failed to tell you was I'm going to do like a rapid fire questionnaire. I used to do these with every guest.
Oh,
for some reason, I pulled back on them. So let's do one now.
Okay.
So first thing that pops in your head, kind of a thing. Let's start with your favorite.
I love this game.
Comic series.
Favorite comic book series? Bone. Jeff Smith's Bone. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, okay. Now I'm going to side tangent you for 3 seconds.
Okay, great.
But some of the art with Tavers specifically reminded me of a couple of old comics I used to follow, like Multiple Warheads. If you've ever heard of that, no one's going to know any of these, so these are really just for me to throw out. But a comic called Prophet. It's like,
oh yeah, I remember Prophet.
Yeah, like a clone guy in space and just like some weird, crazy stuff going on. Anyways, I just had to throw that out there because I thought maybe you had some inspiration there. But
also the art. I mean, I didn't do any of the visual artwork for Tavers, but the cover artist, Trad Moore, is actually a comic book artist.
Oh,
and when I was a young lad, my dream was, of course, to be a comic book artist. I later on found out how woefully poor they end up being, as is the case with most artists. So I tried a different career path.
Well, I think you landed
A much more lucrative one.
I was just gonna say,
I'm
I think
just
you
kidding.
landed where
It's
you're
about
supposed to be because you make some
the
awesome
same,
stuff.
probably.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, absolutely. The art style that, and I can't take any of the credit. I'm not taking any credit for the art in Tavers because it's all thanks to David Hoskins and Luke Dorman. David Hoskins is the Exalted Funeral art director, and he has teamed up with the Meow Wolf art director, Luke.
Oh, cool.
And together they have been like pulling some amazing artists, including Trad Moore, who I am also a huge fan of, and just a ton of other amazing artists for the interior. So it's all those dudes, and I love them very much. This is actually over here. This is a piece of David Hoskins art on my wall.
Oh yeah.
This blacklight enchanter. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know what of the stream is getting cut or not cut, but
yeah, I can see it. That one's actually from OSE, right?
Old school essentials.
Yeah, I
from
recognize
the from the box sets.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, he's a fantastic artist.
This is already the rapid fire is not so rapid, but here we go.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, that's.
I'm doing a Matrix thing with your rapid fire bullets and like slowing them down, dodging them, all this stuff.
It's okay.
All right, keep it coming. All
right, current TTRPG you're playing but not working on.
So that one's tricky. I don't have a regular game right now. But the last one was the One Ring. Lord of the Rings game from Free League. And I just recently picked up a couple of the expansion books, which I love. Look, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. This is why I'm going to talk about that. But a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I really enjoy the system. Hey, you want to show off? Show off some tattoos.
I'm being such a bad host right now.
Oh, it's great.
If you're listening, and you're like,
shards right
Oh,
here.
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you're listening, you're like, these guys are just talking over each other the entire episode. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because we have somewhat of a rapport already. Usually, it's like I've never met the guest, and this is the first time we're ever talking. But we've actually hung out at cons and stuff. So
Yeah. And then a good buddy of mine has actually I should probably shout this out too. Thorin Thompson. It's the third of his Blights of the Eastern Forest, I think was the second one. This one is Seekers of Other Worlds, which is a DCC game. So I was playing in that quite a bit for the playtesting of that as a player.
nice.
So I'm usually in the GM seat, So yeah, it's
Oh
a
yeah.
great question. Sorry, here's my cat, by the way,
What's your cat's name?
Yara.
Yara. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Do I know what that's from? Yara. That sounds
it's
so
a
familiar.
wizard from an old Conan the Barbarian story. An evil wizard from a Conan the Barbarian story called the Tower of the Elephant.
Which we all know all cats are evil wizards in disguise, so it's very fitting.
That's right.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. RPG you want to try.
Oh my gosh, dude, I have bookshelves of RPGs that I want to try. So let me look and see what's on my I really want to play. Oh, it's Mythic Bastion Land.
Mm,
It's definitely Mythic Bastion Land. So I bought it a little while ago, and I guess maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and I read it and love it. I saw a video of some people talking about it, and yeah, that's the one that I really want to play.
yeah, you should. What are you doing here? Go play Mythic Bastion right now. So,
I have a daughter. It's tough. Also, Jason Cordova's public access, which is also on Kickstarter, yeah, it's on Kickstarter right now. I'm also kind of keen to play that one.
yeah. Anything with public access in the title is going to be a riot. So, Weird Heroes of Public Access, you know,
I have played that one several times.
it's a good one. Okay. Desert Island movie. So, like something that you could watch over and over.
Oh, Desert Island movie. Okay. I guess it doesn't really have to be a favorite movie so much as just a movie I could watch over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Muppets Treasure Island.
That is a great choice.
If I say Lord of the Rings after just saying Lord of the Rings, that is probably the movie that I have watched the most. If you count all three of them as one movie, I think that's probably actually the best choice because it's just a lot of content. What do you get with Muppet Treasure Island? You get 96 minutes. This is 13 hours if you count all three of them as one film.
But it's a great 96 minutes. And it's,
It is a
end
great,
to
yeah.
end. It's like you get a little bit of everything in there, you know?
Yeah, you get some singing, you get some villainy. It's got pirates. Yeah.
What's not to love? All right. Last one. You get isekai'd into a fantasy game. What
Yeah.
non human ancestry do you choose to be?
I get to choose?
Yeah, like Dungeon Crawler
That's not
Carl
how,
style.
yeah, I mean, that's not how Isekai works, I don't think. But,
Probably not.
so my ancestry, I mean, yeah, like a wizard. Like you've got magic in you. You're a wizard, Harry. Um, is Harry Potter Isekai? Do you think so? Because, once, once I don't know if we're allowed to talk
Huh.
about Harry Potter, but when he enters the wizarding world, right? It kind of is.
Yeah. I guess he would have to like already have had a knowledge of that world. I think that's the isekai thing, right? Like you're going into Pokemon and you've been playing Pokemon games your whole life and suddenly you're like,
Oh, so you know what it is before you go into it.
I think so. Comment
I
if
didn't
I'm wrong
realize that
about that.
was Yeah, I didn't realize that was a stipulation, but I'm no expert. I was thinking about isekai recently too. I might have said this somewhere else on a video, but I'll say it again. I think Superman is a reverse isekai, right? If you think about it, right? Because he's nobody on his world, and then he comes to our world, and he's
Huh.
Superman, right? Reverse isekai.
Maybe. Yeah, like you're
Maybe. I don't know.
zero to hero.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a professor of this kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
let's call them.
I'm gonna have to look up the term now before I get yelled at on the internet by a bunch of people. I should know more about this. All right, well, we'll
It's fine.
we'll pivot here and just let's say before we get into our episode here, you have a game that's in Kickstarter right now called Tavers. So for the folks at home, give us the elevator pitch of what Tavers is, because it is a wacky, zany looking game, and for those at home who have no idea, basically.
So Tavers is the official role-playing game of Meow Wolf and the many worlds of Meow Wolf. When you play a game of Tavers, you take on the role of a Taver, which is a being that can access Source to basically bend or possibly break the unbreakable laws of reality. This allows you to open portals or shrink your size or do other kinds of wild magic-y kind of shenanigans. The game is played in an exquisite corpse style storytelling mode, which basically all that fancy word means is that you do it collaboratively. So you and your table of friends or enemies, rats or skeletons, I don't know, whatever the group of beings that you choose to play with, all of you are working together to tell a story. You do that in a couple of different fun ways. The primary way being all of you are working towards personal goals, and all of those personal goals affect the group. So, in a nutshell, you're able to come up with some really fun and memorable stories while you're all sort of chasing these personal dreams in an effort to solve a mystery or explore a new realm. A boom ching.
Boom. There you have it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, stick around. We have an awesome episode ahead of us. We're going to talk about, like, getting into the industry of TTRPGs. We're going to talk more about Meow Wolf / Tavers. I've already
We're gonna talk. Yeah,
we're gonna meander all over the damn place, and it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna talk about music, jingles, epic levels of rap.
Wizard in a can of beans.
Wizard in a can of beans. That's the quantum cut. So if you're listening to the quantum cut, you get that bit. So get your can of beans. All right, but stick around. Awesome show ahead. And now a word from our sponsors. Greetings. If you're enjoying this content and want even more Quantum Ogre casts, then check out the Quantum Cut on either Substack or Patreon, where you can get a bonus 15 minutes of extra unaired content. Thank you for your support, and remember to leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. Now, back to the episode. But yeah,
well, Jorben, thank you for. We probably should have started with this instead of that, but thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah. We'll do.
I appreciate it.
I've been excited about this one. We've been like talking for a bit. We've got you've gifted me several awesome zines and stuff that you worked on, and several things I probably don't own. And just I've been following your Patreon for a bit with all the postcard adventures and stuff, and I love your art, love your style. It's so weird, gonzo, lots of fun. So yeah, at this point I'm a fan. So,
Awesome. That's cool. That's really cool, man. I appreciate the support on Patreon. And you've played with me too. We played my my upcoming thing, Torn. At page 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a blast. We actually played.
This is a little secret. Yeah, this is a secret about Torn, which is still I'm still doing like the play testing stuff, but so I've been doing the little postcard maps for probably 3 or 4 years now. And I started doing a Patreon last year, and I do one every month. All of those postcards, whether if you have just the ones on Patreon or any of the older ones, all of those work with Torn. So it's sort of like a sneaky way to like have the content for the game all ready before the game comes out. So yeah, there's the secret.
The behind the scenes.
The secret's out.
Actually, one of the things I love about stuff like this, and if you're listening, I'm holding up Slime Skull Castle by TigerWizard here. One of the things I love about stuff like this is it's really sort of system agnostic. Like you could run this in just about anything you want to. In
Yeah.
fact, like I'm looking at trying to get you to maybe do one of these bad boys for Seven Delving Sins if you're interested, because
Okay.
I think it
Yeah.
would be like a really natural fit for the game that I'm writing. So yeah,
Well, the thing is that while I am writing them in a fashion that is system agnostic, the game torn is sort of designed to be played with environments that could be, that are system agnostic. But the numbering procedure, the like pass through procedures from torn, like they all fit perfectly with these. That's not to say you could run these postcards in pretty much any system as long as you're willing to make a stat block jump. That one that you've got in your hand there, it's got um, skeletons, I think. It's like slime and skulls, right? So it's like skull faced cowgirls, skull faced cactus,
yeah, the
skull
cactus
face.
people.
Yeah, so like you just need to make a jump to like, okay, all right, there's a skull faced cowgirl. Like if we fight her, then that's probably just stat it like a skeleton, right?
Yeah.
There's a few jumps that you have to make with that system agnostic stuff, but if you know the game you're playing, then it shouldn't be that big a deal.
It's funny. I was listening to kind of another podcast earlier today, and the two folks on there were just like they're talking about. I think it was under the umbrella of like fifth edition and stuff, and they were talking about like reskinning monsters and changing things, and I just kept thinking like that's like all I do. Like maybe
Yeah.
that's just maybe I'm the weirdo in this situation, but my default mode is just I rarely take a stat block as is and just plug it into a session, and maybe I just have like grown this way as a game master that I'm just always tinkering with stuff, reskinning it, or just like adapting something from another system, because a lot of times the adventures that I really love and am interested in aren't written for the system I'm currently running. So
Sure.
I just like take things and get the
So
yeah.
that I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. But the thing that I'm interested in knowing about you is, do you think that you tend to skin the stats or do you skin the flavor? Right. So like,
Mm,
let's take the skeleton example. Are you like, I want a skeleton, but I want it to have like a bone machete or like a
yeah.
bone bazooka, right? So like it's a skeleton, but it's got like a bone bazooka, right? Or do you take like, and that's like you're altering the stats, you're giving it
Yeah.
a special ability, or you're making, oh, I want a super bone guy, super boner, and he's stronger, so like let's up just up his HP. Or you just take that regular skeleton stat block and be like, I want to reskin this to be a sexy girl with a skull face, or some other thing, but you're like, I don't care about the stats really, I'll just use these stats and I want to add some vibe flavor.
Yeah.
Or is it like, I want to add some like mechanics to this thing that already exists? Which way do you think that you more frequently trend?
More frequently, probably the flavor. I do a
Yeah.
good bit of both for sure, but I think like sometimes,
Why not
like
both?
yeah, porque no las dos.
Ah,
Sometimes I just like I have an idea and there's not an exact fit for it. So like I'm
sure.
like, yeah, this goblin has a rip saw, pole arm with like a chain on the end of it and
Uh-huh.
is
Uh-huh.
just
Go
running at
on.
you right now, ripping the cord and screaming, "What are you gonna do?" That sort of thing. So yeah.
I love it.
To
Uh
flip the question back at you, do you think
oh, great.
you are more of that GM that like you reskin the stat, or do you think you're all like flavor and vibes, and you come up
I'm
with it?
almost yeah, I'm almost always abandoning stat blocks for what the players want to do. Which I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm definitely not gonna fudge stat block if we're doing like a hard combat kind of game.
Yeah.
But I tend towards I tend to run games that care less about stat blocks than story, right?
Yeah.
So
For sure. Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah.
running something that's very uh OSR vibed. In that case, I am hardcore like making up some weird ass thing and then just flipping to like, okay, what's like the most similar thing in whatever book I have handy, you know? So
Yeah.
if I'm running OSE, it's like, all right, this thing is close approximation to, a Minotaur. So, we'll use that and, but it's something, it's never going to be just that.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, and I think the thing I wasn't saying with like the kind of like ad libbing on the fly is that usually I have such a sort of like foundational understanding of that game before I get to that point where I'm improving
Yeah.
that it sort of just lives in the back of my head, like number wise, mechanic wise. I can pretty much be like, you know what, this guy's a level 3. He's gonna have a 14 AC, and he's gonna hit +4 or whatever, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely you gotta have your chops if you're gonna
Yeah.
go and
You know,
swinging.
I think like maybe like 4 years ago, I was running and playing a lot of Morkborg, and I got to the point. I mean, there's not a lot to remember there, but it got to the point like I could make up a monster kind of on the fly, and like know like okay, well he's like this, and um, I don't think I ever had like good enough monster total monster recall um with anything else. I don't know, maybe third edition I could have probably like recalled like the sort of basic stuff, like goblins and whatever. But yeah, I don't have I'm not my brain is not as sharp, I think, as yours is.
Well, it just I really it's time put into the game. I've started this. I don't think this is a real term. I think I made this up, but I've started to
Okay.
refer to this as game sense. This idea that like you get so entrenched in a specific system that it's just second nature to you at a certain point. Like you
Yeah.
know when to pull back, you know when to lean in a little bit and make add a few more goblins, that sort of thing. You know when to turn the dials down and stuff like that. And I think it just comes with time. It's just experience, really. It's how long have you been running this system? How many sessions, how many hours do you have under your belt? That sort of thing. You know.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably the problem is that I've danced around running and playing in so many different systems at this point that trying to remember what a zombie is in any one of them feels impossible. But I haven't it's been a long time since I've been like hardcore I only play this game. I think at that time, like at that time, like I had a long period of third edition and then 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons. And I think during that time I was playing and running. I think at that time I probably could have done that, but not anymore, man. Whew.
Yeah, not with a 16-month-old.
Also, also that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find the time in normal life, but whenever you're raising a youngling, it's yeah, extra hard. So, but
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, so I just got back from GaryCon, and I have a tendency at conventions to like just like take meetings and do work stuff or try to promote whatever it is that I'm promoting and not actually play games. Yeah, Tavers. Um, but this time, actually, I played a bunch of games and kind of like to the point I was just making, I played a bunch of different games and I tried some games that I had never played before, which was really exciting.
yeah,
Um,
that's
so
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the good thing about cons to me is like I get to try a bunch of games I've never played before. In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
I made a video not too long ago. I think I played like 22 different systems last year, and that
Oh
is
hell yeah.
not normal for me. I'm not like I have my staple home game where we're usually running the same system, but I tried like a lot more online games. I went to a couple cons. I made sure to play and try as many new systems as I could, just because I wanted to like really get like an idea for the breadth of variety out there, because
Yeah.
there's it's almost overwhelming how many systems exist, whether it's dungeon cats, you might just stumble across something you've never even heard of. It wasn't on your radar, and then some guy's standing there pitching his cat dungeon game to you while you talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl. So you know
Uh, yeah, Dungeon Cats was nominated for an Emmy last year.
that's awesome. Which one?
Yeah. Best family game. Didn't win, but that's okay. It was nice just to be thought of. Um, Land of Eam
Yeah, I was gonna
won
say,
best family
not to
game.
rub it in, but Land of Eve is a hell of a game.
It
That's
is.
that is going to be a
It's
hard one to beat.
so this is probably a good time to mention that I work for Exalted Funeral, if that wasn't already apparent, and we're the publishers of Land of Eam, also Old School Essentials, which I mentioned earlier, and the forthcoming Tavers, which is when is this coming out, Jordan? This
Oh,
video. Are we
this
live
this
on Kickstarter still?
this will probably come out next Tuesday.
All right, yeah. Well, then we're still live on Kickstarter. We're in the final throes of Kickstarter lifespan, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that last stretch is important too. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that like I literally wait till the last 48 hours, and I'm like, I need to make sure I lock in my my whatever tier I'm gonna submit to. So
We're so like from the beginning of this game, of like working on this game, I wanted I wanted to have slogans printed on the ribbons in the book, which is our next stretch goal.
mm,
And we're like so I'm gonna go check if we've hit it already. We might have already hit it, but we were like dollars away from it when I checked last time. Uh no, we're not. We're yeah, we're pretty close. We're at 197 of $200,000
wow,
to get that next stretch goal. So
that's awesome though.
I'm
That's,
I'm hoping that we hit that one just because I want the ribbons in the book,
yeah,
but also, it'd be cool if more people got their hands on the game and were playing it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, hopefully we hit that, and there's some other cool stretch goals coming after it. But
Well,
man, I just want those ribbons, Jordan.
I do too, and especially now that I know there's gonna be mottos, on them. That's unique. I don't think Well, I guess
Well,
Morgborg has some stuff written on the ribbon, though I couldn't tell you what it says.
I'm pretty sure it's like runes. But
Yeah.
the idea was, so there's two sort of things you have to keep track of as the storyteller, and it is, where are you and who are you talking to? So the two ribbons, one is like, where the hell am I? And the other one is like, who the hell am I talking to?
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so I wanted, it was really important to me that I had that. I wanted it to be lower, like a lower stretch goal, but
Hey,
I don't, I don't
stretch
make
goals
all
are
the
there for a
decisions.
reason. You know, you got to have the
That's
money
true.
to do the extra cool little bits and bobs. So
Yeah, I didn't think it would be like super expensive to print on ribbons, but apparently it adds some cost. Whatever.
you don't know what you don't know until you know.
Don't know what you don't know. That is absolutely the truth.
That's the motto of this episode.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know. Uh,
I was
okay. So speaking of stuff you don't know, is there anything you don't know about Tavers?
Well, that's I was we were pretty naturally segueing into a question I was going to ask, which is, you know,
We're a natural pair.
we're a natural pair. That sounded less natural than I wanted it to, but yeah, as I've skimmed the page, and I'm like, okay, there are hamsters, there are
Yes.
cybernetics, and
Mhm.
there's crazy street art, and
Yep.
somehow those things are Tavers. So, like, I guess what my question is, talk about some of your inspirations for Tavers, because it is a very unique looking TTRPG.
Sure. Well, so um, I have to kind of break this down into two sections because I have a lot of inspirations from role playing games as far as like the mechanics go, but obviously the main inspiration is Meow Wolf and the Meow Wolf installations, and coming to the decisions about the different kinds of mechanics came from visiting Meow Wolf locations, observing interactions people had while they were interacting with the arts and the crazy worlds and all of the like stuff that exists inside of those installations.
And just
Um,
to interrupt you for 1 second,
yeah.
if someone's listening and they don't know what Meow Wolf is,
Okay. Tell them what it is. I
yeah,
will. Meow Wolf is a um, it's like a physical location, attraction kind of art installation that you can go to and that you can physically interact with. So it's an art installation that also has elements of like a puzzle room, except for you're not trapped there, like escape room. Like it's got like escape room, haunted house, art installation, all of those kind of vibes, kind of like in one thing. And then they build a story into each of their exhibits that they don't explain to you. You have to figure it out however you want to or not. It's like entirely up to you. So you can dive really deep into the material that they place throughout these locations. And there are people that are like really into it in a super cool way. But you can also just go and like look at the like bright colored neon art and like there's so many fun photo opportunities at these places. There have been like music videos filmed at a bunch of them. The
so it's almost
the
like
video,
art exhibit crammed together with like LARP and like a mystery, like that you're unfolding while you're there, which is
yes,
crazy.
no, that's a great way to put it. Um, and it's all up to the individual how much of it they want to absorb, and then it's also up to the individual to like kind of piece together what it means to them. So that right there, that was my biggest inspiration was like the fact that there is this place that you can go to that has some kind of mystery or mysterious element to it or unknown to it, and that you as the participant or the inhabitant of that space have the option to like have it mean basically whatever you want. So that was kind of, I mean, that's definitely like that's the biggest inspiration for the game. It was natural. We made the game for Meow Wolf. It's the Meow Wolf role playing game. But outside of the actual installations, I stole sort of unabashedly from Mouse Ritter, Tetris,
Mm,
Brindlewood Bay, Mythic Bastion Land, Iron Sworn. The list goes on.
yeah.
Fate, and just like a lot of fun, amazing games that just kind of like I'm always thinking about like, oh, this is so clever, this mechanic that this person has used, just kind of like floating up there, and then thinking about like, well, I've developed this thing, this game. How can I use bits of these other things in it and have it still make sense and work together? So all
Yeah.
of those games and more probably.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because even as I develop my own game, I think about the list, the like ever growing list of games that have probably influenced the writing I'm
Oh yeah,
doing, and
yeah.
it's ridiculous. Like the ones that creep in there, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm stealing armor from Daggerheart or something, you know. Uh,
Oh yeah. And the more you read games, the more like the longer that list grows.
yeah, it's all jazz,
Before we were
baby.
starting, yeah, I know. It's so cool though. It's like that's what makes jazz so cool, you know? Like nobody owns a note, you know?
Right.
You have to take the different notes and like figure out how it makes your song.
Yeah.
So or improvise it.
Yeah,
So
you know, it's funny not to go too far on a tangent here, but I was like
changing it
listening
up.
to the state of the OSR. Actually, was it the one you were on? And like everyone was trying to like sort of encompass what makes the OSR, and all I could think was like, yeah, it's jazz. It's not like a, you know, you're borrowing little pieces here and there. It's you know the vibe that jazz is gonna be, you know
Yeah.
what the songs are going to sound like, but you know everybody's bringing their own thing to the table. They're adding to the songs. They're doing an old riff here that you might recognize, but like you know injecting something new and fun. And I was like, anyways, that was I just thought of that whenever we were talking about jazz because I was like, that's to me that's kind of what like role playing games are. You know, they're genres.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Anyway,
I mean, yeah, well you're making me think about it now. And if I watched it when it came out. It was the one from page 3
yeah,
that Luke did. I was on that panel. Although probably not the most eloquent speaker on that panel. Absolutely not the most eloquent speaker on that panel.
we're
Um,
all nerds.
yeah, but some of us um, not only think about this stuff all the time, but also are really good at making words sound nice.
I don't know nothing about that.
Me either. Um, yeah, I mean, I think every game, whether it be OSR or maybe a more modern storytelling game, or you know, even like a trad or classic style of gameplay, all you know, all of them are their own sort of genre, their own sort of blend of different styles of play, different kind of cultures of existing around a table and telling stories together. So yeah, I mean, I think like I think anybody can sort of latch on to like to something from uh like when you're listening to music and you're like, okay, well maybe I'm not into jazz, but like I can see some jazz influence in this sort of, you know, I don't know, new wave hip hop or whatever it is that you're listening to. And because it's all there's connective tissue like pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I dig what you're saying. I dig it, Daddy O.
Dig what I'm laying down. Yeah, you
Hmm.
know, and it's funny too. Like, not to go again too far on this, but I I think about this with music, and it's kind of the same thing. Like sometimes we get caught up in these arguments where we're like, you know, is it grunge? Is it punk? You know, and
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's like I don't know. I just like this band. You know,
yeah. You,
call it what you want, but
well, that's great because that puts me sort of at ease because I don't actually know like the proper RPG term. It's just like this game, you know. Like
yeah,
that's that's kind of my speed. I do have I don't know if you know this, but I do have a D&D, a fantasy hip hop group,
I
Epic Levels.
I do know, and I have a
Oh, okay.
sticker on my water bottle, so I was looking for it. Because
Oh,
you gave me
okay.
a sticker at Gen Con, I think. So,
Okay. Yeah,
or
hell
maybe
yeah.
PAX.
Well,
But
maybe. Maybe both. You never know. Yeah. We've got a couple albums out. Um, it's mostly okay.
don't sell
But hey,
yourself short.
yeah, if
It's at best top mediocre.
yeah,
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
okay with
I've not
yeah,
listened
I'm
to it.
okay with I'm okay with top middle of the road, you know. It's just fun. If you're into the hobby, you probably will find some of it humorous. I've been told I'm a kind of silly guy. Um, but yeah, it's just fun. Yeah, it's fun to like sing about the hobby and kind of poke fun at it. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
I write
my
jingles
partners,
occasionally,
yeah.
so yeah, yeah. I used to put them in my videos. Like it started off, they were at the beginning of the videos, and then they moved to the end, and now they've just kind of sort of, yeah, they might be in there occasionally, but
Jingles for like RPGs, like
yeah.
that's so much better.
Well,
That's amazing, actually. Oh, that's so cool.
it started off.
You should keep doing that. That's awesome.
Thanks. It started off as just like I was trying to do something that wasn't being done anywhere, and I've always my whole life I've been a musician, so I was like, how can I use this? And it started off just being like, this is the theme song for this playlist or whatever, and then I
Oh
would
my
review
gosh.
like Mouse Ritter, and I would do a Mouse Ritter jingle or whatever. So yeah,
That is amazing. Dude, so when we started doing epic levels, we thought we were going to be like the only people doing Dungeons and Dragons like music, you
yeah,
know? And like we started doing this in like 2014, so it was like a little bit before the like implosion happened of people coming into the hobby. But even then, there were already like nerdcore superstars that they would have a song or two in their discography about Dungeons and Dragons. You know, famously MC Front a lot. A lot of other nerdcore rappers like have at least one Dungeons and Dragons song in their
you
repertoire.
got to.
But we were like, no, we're just like all of our songs, just like everything is going to be about fantasy role playing games. And then we wrote and recorded songs for like maybe 5 years
Wow.
before we ever released anything
Oh wow,
officially.
that's a
Yeah,
lot.
and by that time it was like there was stuff, you know, there's stuff all over the place, you know, like
You
it
sat
was
on
just sort
that
of like
egg a little too long.
I mean, it didn't really matter in the long. I mean, either way, it didn't really matter. Like, it's not like we were getting into RPG hip hop to.
We're on the ground level RPG hip hop. You heard it first
uh,
here, folks.
well, you know, we were both in bands. You know, at the time, me and my partner Steve, who's also my partner on our podcast, the Mad Dungeon podcast. And both of us had bands that kind of like ceased being around the same time, but we're like, oh, we need to like have a project so that when we're not at D&D night, like at that time we were doing D&D Wednesday nights and also all day Saturdays. So we had
It's a lot.
two nights. Well, we had 2 days with like the same group in the same like collaboratively built world,
Mm.
and there was like tag team DMs. But we were like, yeah, we need like we weren't seeing enough of each other. Like we need to have another project. So yeah, so we started like once a week getting together and like working on songs,
That's awesome.
and you know making beats and stuff. So
It's super cool. I mean, what a yeah. What better way to like bond than writing songs? I mean,
yeah,
it's. I'm glad we got to talk about this because I didn't know you were such a musician. And I feel like now we have even more sort of connective tissue.
dude, I haven't like I was thinking about it last week, because like I haven't made any music in like over a year. Um,
Having a kid will
obviously,
definitely do
yeah,
that.
having a kid will do it, but like now I'm starting to like feel like, oh, I've got a little bit more freedom, a little bit. Um, and I've got, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a couple of synths that I've just been like maybe if I leave this out, it'll inspire me to like set it up and play with it again.
Oh
Um,
man, I know
so
that game.
I'm, yeah, so I'm trying to like trick myself into like getting sucked into it some night. Um, and I don't know, maybe I'll make a dungeon synth album. Been curious to give that a try.
Well, hey, sidebar. If you
Sidebar.
do, I
Okay.
know a guy who could write some jingles for those. You know,
I mean, we should definitely do that. I mean,
it's funny.
that's awesome. I'm gonna have to go back and like listen to all of your videos now to try and find these jingles.
Yeah, they've slowly like faded out over time, but maybe I'll put it at the beginning of this podcast episode. I've got a Quantum Ogre Cast jingle that needs to make its way back in there. So
Okay, yeah, let's start it off right, and then right here in the middle, you can drop an epic levels track.
there you go. Boom. It'll
Okay.
it'll all go together by the end. We'll make our Thanos gauntlet of weird dungeon tuber musician. You know, it's gonna work. I can feel it. And you know what? Just to go on one more tangent here, I recently discovered that there's an entire world of like fantasy themed guitar pedals, and now it's all
Mhm.
I want is like
Oh yeah.
my reverb and delay with a little wizard on it that that's called like the afterneath and stuff like that.
Yes.
I like went on a deep dive and I was like, I don't have money for this. I really don't. I don't need another new expensive hobby, but man, do I want some guitar pedals right now, and I just want to make dungeon synth with them. So
Dude, sounds awesome.
we were talking about inspirations for Tavers. Well, something I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, because you're an artist, you work on lots of different projects. What's your favorite part about working on a TTRPG project? Do you
Mm.
have something that you like prefer doing or get really excited about whenever you get involved in a project?
Yes, there is. This is probably not going to be a big surprise, but it's playing the game.
Well, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and actually, if I can like launch board off of that a little bit, it was especially that for Tavers because I love running games and I love that like feeling of like people being like shocked and awe and like, oh, this is so cool, like, I can't believe that happened in the story, or like if they're impressed by the actual like game mechanics. Sometimes they'll say something, but most of the time it's like whatever the story was cool and fun, and like, oh, it was so cool when like, that guy got his head chopped off, or like, oh, when the catapult went off and nobody thought it was going to, like whatever the thing is that's like fun that happens in that game and nobody was expecting it. Like that part is always so cool.
Yeah.
For Tavers though, it was especially cool because after the game was nearing its final form, it was mostly complete. I still had a little bit more writing to do, but very close to like final form. And I went to Santa Fe and got to run the game for like a bunch of the creatives at Meow Wolf.
Oh, cool.
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what the, like, this is not gonna impress anybody. Like, this is a game about like creating new worlds and like creating new stories. And this is a group of people that's like, they do that like 10 times before lunch, thinking about this kind of stuff and like creating this kind of stuff is like their bread and butter. So I was kind of like, they might not like, they might not like it. I don't know. Like, we're just gonna see what happens. Um, but it was like a little bit, I was a little sweaty about it, honestly, because, this is a game that I designed for them.
Yeah.
I didn't just decide to go do this on my own, like we got this license and, it's my job to make a game that they want, and like a game that sort of fits the prerequisites of what they want in a role-playing experience. So I was nervous.
Yeah.
Um,
Rightfully so. Yeah.
But it was such a cool experience because they were so into it and they were so supportive and they were like, you nailed it, so like that was the best part. Like hearing the people that the game was designed for get to play it and like and feel them like acknowledge or like be stoked about it, like, you did it exactly the way that a Meow Wolf game should be. Like that was the best part. Usually it's just playing the game, but if you ever I don't know. I feel like I got kind of a rare and beautiful gift, being able to actually do that. We've done we've done a couple of other intellectual property games that um, probably won't ever be played by the cast of Monty Python.
Yeah,
um,
fair enough.
but like, could you imagine if you were the creator of that game and then you got to play it with the cast of Monty Python and they were like, "Oh, you nailed it! Oh, you even did the voice right or the silly what?" You know what I mean? Like, it kind of felt like that, I guess. So, um,
That's
yeah. But
awesome.
normally, I think normally for me when I'm working on a game, like just the playtesting part of it, and I love the part of it where I get grumpy because somebody finds something wrong, like in the playtesting part, and like somebody is like, "But what if I do this?" And I'm like, "What if you did do that?" And then I'm like, "Oh, that kind of messes things up a little bit." And then like my brain has to like figure out how to make it not suck. And
Yeah.
so I like that. It's like kind of like a puzzle in your brain that you have to sort of set yourself down, and then you also have to like keep playing the game. So you have to like make a decision, be like, well, we're just going to pinhole that for now and we'll do this in the meantime, and then thanks for pointing that out, I'll fix it later.
I know exactly what you mean, but yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
that's such a cool experience. I mean, I can't imagine, yeah, like you said, the sweat, the pressure of being like, okay, here's like a microcosm of what you guys do on a regular basis, you know. This is
Mhm.
your creature, this is your baby, and now I've made it into a role-playing game and you guys get to experience it.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. But yeah, also just what you're saying too about like playtest stress testing. That is always, I've had those same moments where you hit a point and you're like, yeah, how did I not think about how attack rolls are gonna go in this game? That's like 90% of most dungeon crawls or something. But yeah, it is fun too to like solve in the moment because you're like, let's try this for now.
Yeah.
If it's catastrophic failure, then we won't do that. And I'll
Yeah.
think harder about it, how to fix this. But
I think the first game that I'd ever like truly designed, um I was a little bit prickly about like people not like being like, "Oh, well, like you should do this," or "Oh, you should do that." And I didn't like it. I was like, "Oh, this feels like criticism and it feels like you're saying I suck," which I do. Um, but I think after that first one, somebody pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, this is really good, but like why don't you want to hear the feedback?"
mm,
And I had to like really sort of internalize that, and so I've just sort of like flipped the switch all the way to the other side to like really embrace and welcome feedback. And the truth of the matter is it just makes games better. It just
yeah,
makes them more fun. And so I sort of forced myself over the course of playtesting different games to like make myself love that part. And it's kind of like, you don't know until you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So you got to force yourself to love the thing that's going to make it better.
yeah. No, that's a really great insight for folks who might be listening and are developing RPGs or games or whatever of their own, because there is that tension early on, especially if this is like your first game, you're putting it in front of people. Um, there's gonna be points where you're like, yeah, this isn't working, and you have to be able to like accept that feedback and know. I think we all find a point where we like can sort of separate like, okay, this is good feedback, or like this is just like a differing idea than what we're really going for in this game. This isn't
Yeah.
on how do I put this, like it's not within the sort of expression of the
Not within this,
game.
yeah, the scope of what you're trying to do. And that is important to like remember that like what you're doing may not be for everybody.
Right.
I will say I've definitely learned how to tune out feedback that has like literally nothing behind it.
Yeah.
Because you'll get people that will be like, I don't like this. And you're like, okay, well,
Why don't you like it?
why?
Yeah,
Yeah, why don't you like it? And like, because it's bad and dumb. Like,
right,
okay, yeah, cool. Sorry that I made a bad dumb game, but like, what's bad and dumb about it? Like, can you give me a little bit more? Well, it's boring. It's like, oh, you were bored? That's some insight. Like, let's talk about why you felt bored.
right.
Like, well, because I chose not to pay attention to what you were doing. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah,
So, train yourself to not only embrace good feedback and criticism, but also train yourself to kind of tune out those people that are like, well, I just don't like it because I don't like it.
yeah, yeah. And you
Because
get
you're gonna get both.
you definitely start to get a feel for like what this person understands, like what good feedback is, and even if it's something you maybe isn't in line with your idea of the game, then like you could still hear it and be like, yeah, actually that is kind of broken. It doesn't work, and I need to take a look at it and dive a little deeper. Yeah, it's a good. You have to get some thick skin, I think, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
What I
Either
think is
in either
hilarious is
direction.
that like right now, like all of the listeners are like, these two dudes are like super bonding over getting their feelings hurt.
Look, if you if
Hey,
if you're on the internet and you don't get your feelings hurt, you're doing it wrong. So
that's right. Yeah. So yeah, that was my answer to the question about my favorite part of designing Tavers.
welcome to the podcast where we talk
Oh.
circles around a subject and sort of answer it. All right, so like sort of a final question here for you before we get going. Do you have a project that you've worked on that you wish more folks knew about? Maybe something you're proud of that's like just it doesn't get maybe brought up as much or like it was early on in your career or anything like that.
Oh, probably, yeah. I don't know. I feel like the most important project is always the one you're working on right now. You're showing off sewer rats, um, or Uzdan.
No,
Well,
I just these are the ones I have. I'm just showing off my collection.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's a hard question. Um, because I don't think I really hold on to, I don't think I really hold on to games or um artwork even as being like precious so much as like I did the thing, I'm ready to like make the next thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the ones that I hold on to the most are the ones that just take a long time. So, my Dungeon 23 project, which took a whole year, I'm
Mm,
pretty proud of. Um, uh, we did a series of rooms for it's a mega dungeon 23 challenge. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of Dungeon Cats. I spent a lot of time working on that one. I think one that probably doesn't get talked about a lot, that my part in it was potentially superficial, was Puke Apocalypse, which is a miniature skirmish combat game.
mm,
Um, I didn't create the concept or idea, but I became good friends with the creator during the process of publishing it through Exalted Funeral, and I helped him uh, play test and edit a bunch of the rules, and I did do some artwork for it. And I feel like that game never really got a fair shake because
gotcha.
it's just disgusting, and it's like a miniature skirmish combat game. You damage your opponents by spraying a projectile hose of vomit at them, and you trying to like cause them to burst like in a vomit explosion. And it's just fun, it's just gross fun.
Fun for the whole family. It sounds like.
Yeah. Um, and we put together like a really cool little book. It's all miniatures agnostic. So One of my favorite parts about it is that when in between games, if you're scumbags, which are the your little gang of pukey guys, if they get like mutated or damaged or anything, you have to like hit bash onto your miniature the
Oh,
changes that
nice.
happen,
That's cool.
and if you don't, you lose the upgrades, right? So it's definitely like a niche of a niche kind
Sure.
of
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
because it's not only is it super gross, but you have to like really like hit bashing and like hobby modeling, and then it's a miniatures war game, so you have to like that, and it's sort of like the campaign style miniatures war
Mm.
game, so you have to like play through different scenarios. So yeah.
Well,
I
that
think my answer should be Puke Apocalypse.
Puke Apocalypse. Okay, go check out Puke Apocalypse if you've never heard of
Hmm.
it. So there we go. Well,
Yeah,
all right. Now for something entirely different. Um, let's. Where can folks find you? You know, we've got your obviously. Tavers is still live at the moment, um, and like you've got a Patreon. You've got all kinds of things going on. You're working at Exalted
sure.
Funeral. Tell the folks where you want them to find you.
Okay, so let's start with Tavers. Tavers obviously is on Kickstarter, so if you haven't backed it, like please do. I would appreciate it. I really want those ribbons. Um, then the next place is just Exalted Funeral. I am TigerWizard. TigerWizard at Exalted Funeral. You can send me an email. On social stuff, I'm pretty much TigerWizard everywhere. So Instagram, Facebook. Facebook might have my real name in there too, which is Andrew, but it'll say TigerWizard somewhere. Um, the Patreon is patreon.com/TigerWizard. The podcast is the Mad Dungeon podcast.
And
It's on all streaming stuff.
if I may, if you check out the Patreon, you
Oh
have
yeah.
awesome like postcard dungeons that I'm holding up if you're listening. But yeah, they're really fun and really easy to run and very zany.
Yes, definitely check out those. You don't have to pay for membership. You can join as a free member. I do post free maps on there occasionally. If you're a paid member, you get something every month. Um, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook. Oh, just recently started doing a YouTube show called Coffee and Coffins. Me and my good buddy Beckett, we jump on there and we talk about new products that are coming to the Exalted Funeral Store, what we think about them. Usually it devolves into like either weird stories about movies or cults or like a crackhead down the street from where Beckett lives. Like it's a wild time, kind of no matter what. And then we often will bring on a guest from the industry to talk about their project or their Kickstarter or their crackhead down the street, whatever. And yeah, that's called Coffee and Coffins, and it's on the Exalted Funeral YouTube channel. So go give that a. Oh, and while you're here watching this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, Elder Goblin Games, Quantum Ogre Cast. Hit the
Thank you. I
bell.
I do forget
Yeah, do
literally
the thumb,
every time to say any of that, or
do the
leave a review
subscribe.
on your podcatcher of choice.
Yeah, yeah. Leave a review. Do the stars. Do the thumbs. Do the bells.
I don't know why
What
it
else
feels
is there?
so unnatural for me to do that, but I,
Yeah.
I literally forget every time.
Well, so Jordan said before that he forgot to do that all the time, which is why I'm doing it. But,
Appreciate it.
okay, so the podcast that I do is just audio only. It's with my buddy Steve, who's also my partner in the music, which is Epic Levels. That's anywhere you listen to music. Epic Levels. The socials are mostly Epic Levels, maybe Epic underscore Levels. And the website for that is epiclevelsrapgods.com.
Nice.
I
Well,
think that's
awesome.
about it. Oh, find me at cons. I'm going to be a guest at several cons this year. So come see me at conventions. I think the next one I'm at is MomoCon, and then probably Gen Con after MomoCon.
Well, I hope to make it to Gen Con so we can hang out because
Hell
we
yeah.
apparently we need to like get together and have a jam session or something. So
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that Gen Con's the perfect place for a jam session.
I'll bring my uke. We'll
Oh, okay.
find a corner and sing some D&D jingles slash rap.
Um, I'll bring my accordion, my squeeze box.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the show. We'll wrap things up here. I'm looking forward to Tavers. I'm so glad to have finally had you on here. This. I feel like I say this with every guest, but this one's been a long time coming. We've like you said, we met at a con, and
Yeah.
it was a delight to meet you then. So glad to finally have you on the show. So all
I
right.
love I love getting to be here. I love your map of Middle Earth uh in the background. You're a wonderful human. I appreciate you and
Oh,
thank you for taking the time to have me on the show.
well, right back at you, and you're welcome back anytime. So all
Oh,
right.
great.
Well,
I'll see you next week. Yeah.
I'm going to cut us off there because we're just going to keep babbling. So, again, thank you so much for being here. If you're listening at home, make sure to, review on podcatchers and stuff. And we'll see you next time in the dungeon, no matter what choices you make. If you want to stay plugged in to what's going on behind the scenes or support me more directly, please check out either the mailing list or the Patreon. Because let's be honest, YouTube is not always the best about getting notifications to the people who want to see them, and both of these are absolutely free to sign up. Check out either one. I appreciate all the support that you guys give, and as always, learn, adapt, and grow. We'll see you next time.